Okay, this is going to be my second attempt at this because the first one was a little convoluted. But what I've come up with here are what I consider my 6 types of voters. And then down here, we have 2 non-voters. Okay, so voter number A is a dyed-in-the-wool Republican conservative Trump lover. He is guaranteed to vote for Trump. And I'm going to assign him a point value since we know this guy's going to vote and we know that his vote will be on this side of the spectrum. I just realized I have my spectrum backwards. I actually wasn't thinking about it that way until just now. Okay, so A is over here. There's a 1 point or a 1 point jump away from not voting. So we could conceivably, in a point value, give this guy 1 point. 1 red point specifically. All right, likewise on the other side over here, we've got me, essentially, which we're going to call voter number B. And voter B is a Democrat that is absolutely going to vote Democrat, and you can, it doesn't matter who the candidate is, there's this guy. Okay, so there's one here. All right, already we've got a situation where these 2 candidates are canceling, not candidates, these 2 voters are canceling each other out. Next, we have got voter C. Voter C is a typical conservative Republican candidate. But this year, after 4 years of Trump, this voter has decided to sit out the election. They don't like Trump, but they just can't stomach voting for a Democrat. So honestly, this is a point that would usually go this way, but it's actually in a negative. Trump is losing this point, right? Well, this is the same thing as giving a point to the Democrats. All right? Then we've got this guy down here, voter number D. This is also a Democrat this is a Democrat who would normally vote, almost always votes as, a trustworthy voter, but has decided not to vote for the Democratic candidate. I actually think that this voter really doesn't exist. There's only one scenario in which this voter exists, and I'll get to that in a second. But for now, we're just going to give him a 0 because, as I said, I don't really think that voter exists. Likewise, we've got the Democrat over here who, for some reason, is super furious and decides to go vote for Trump. This guy definitely doesn't exist. I mean, maybe there is one out there, but, they're in need of psychological evaluation and hopefully don't make it to the polls. So voter E does not exist. Now we're at voter F. Voter F has always been a Republican voter, but hates Trump and has decided to vote for the Democratic candidate. This is a very important voter because Trump is losing this vote and the Democrat is gaining this vote. So this guy actually has a value of +2. All right. So no matter who the Democrat, we're going to say it's, Democrat candidate blank, right? In this scenario, we've got 0 over here, 0 votes over here, and over here we've got 2, 3, because remember, we decided these guys cancel each other out, okay? So awesome. We got this guy to come over here. He has now, he is now voting Democrat. We get that 2-point swing from him. This guy wins the election. However, the problem is this guy won't vote for Bernie Sanders. This has been tried and true, okay? So here's the deal. Let's say this is Bernie, who I love. I love Bernie Sanders. He is my favorite candidate. I think he's the best man for the job. So I'm going to give this to Bernie. All right, well, what happens immediately is we lose these two. So now we have one, right? And we're still, this guy who really hates Bernie, he's going to do one of two things. He could go back here, which wouldn't hurt us. That would be fine. But he could actually, because he's a guy who likes to vote, and I'm sorry I'm using only the he pronoun here, but that's what's coming to mind. He could actually do this. So what happens now is this becomes a +1. When that becomes a +1, we end up in a dead heat. We are even scores. It's 1-on-1. But here's the argument from Bernie's supporters. There's this guy down here. This guy, according to Bernie supporters, is a traditional non-voter. Either has been too young to vote or has never had a candidate they really believed in. And this year, 2020, this guy is going to vote. How exciting. This is a total +1, right? Right? Unfortunately, for every one of these guys, there's one of these guys. This guy is terrified of the word socialist. His grandfather fought in World War II. He isn't going to let our country become communist because he doesn't know the difference between socialism and communism. And he doesn't know the difference between a Nazi and a communist. He has no concept of the political spectrum. Therefore, this guy comes out of the woodworks and goes and votes for Trump. First time he's ever voted. And there's a +1. And we end up in a situation where it's a dead heat. And we are relying on the Electoral College to decide our election. Again, we end up right back at 2016. I would even conjecture that for every one of these guys, there are two of these guys. And that is me coming from a point of growing up in conservative America. So my friends, the only way we learn or we win this, we learn from 2016 and we win this election is we get rid of this guy. We don't lose this guy. These guys stay out of play. And we go back to this situation. 0-3. Bernie loses the election. Anyone else wins. Sorry to say it, but math don't lie.